Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here, your host of the Firebelly Social Show, where we focus our attentions, or I focus my attention on the founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. So, this is a super cool, committed crew of people. They're out to change the world, and man, I love talking to them. Before we jump into today's discussion, let's take a moment to thank Firebelly Marketing, who makes this possible. At Firebelly, we specialize in mission-driven food and beverage brands, telling their stories and building communities through the power of social. So if you're ready to amplify your brand's voice, go to firebellymarketing.com and take it from there. So now today I'm so excited to welcome the the relatives of friends, Arif Khan and Sabeen Hasan, the dynamic husband and wife team behind Chikka Chikka. After starting their journey with an award-winning restaurant that became a beloved community hub, they then moved on to create this brand that reimagines South Asian fennel seeds, mixes in a healthier, more modern way, with no refined sugar, no artificial colors or additives. Their mixes are a delightful blend of flavor, tradition, and wellness. And I can tell you that when the product arrived at Firebelly's office, they were immediately busted open and tried by our very excited team. So Arif and Sabeen, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Duncan. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you. And let's start by just talking about you've had a very interesting journey. Your entrepreneurship journey began with transforming an abandoned biker bar into an award-winning restaurant. Let's start there.
Well, that's right, Duncan. We got married in 2016, and we were moving to the Hudson Valley, relocating from Boston and New Orleans. And we really were out to buy a house. And on that journey, we sort of accidentally ended up going down this path of finding a cute abandoned biker bar. It was something we would pass every day, and it turned out it was for sale. So we ended up buying this abandoned bar and, turned it into what ended up being a pretty vibrant community space and a hub in a pretty rural area in Ulster County, New York.
Yeah, I mean, there was an apartment above it, so that was our risk management. The bar and restaurant were down on the ground floor, and there was a livable apartment, and we're like, well, very worst, we have a place and a cool place to entertain our friends. Mm-hmm. And of course, the trick as children of South Asian immigrant, like professional folks that came to make better lives in America, then finding out that their, children just bought a abandoned bar in the middle of nowhere. That's yeah, I think you can understand, right? There was a little bit of a communications thing that we had to manage where basically we're like, well, we're buying this bar and restaurant, but it's also a good way for people to learn about our consulting work. Sabeen's an architect and I'm a strategic planner, urban planner. And that was the joke that we'd be like, well, the restaurant will be the marketing scheme or the loss leader for our consulting work.
I mean, I know that feeling. Believe me, when I graduated from college and I was working as a server, it was something that my parents, God bless them, they never talked about.
Exactly. They wouldn't introduce you to their friends or here's my son, the waiter, right?
My dad's a very polished man, very, very Indian and Westernized at the same time. And he said, son, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Exactly. We got that.
I love the fact that this became a community center. And anyone that has eaten at an Indian restaurant or really, I guess, South Asian restaurant in overseas, in the country or in the US knows about these fennel seeds, and I think people, it's a novelty sometimes. It's like, hey, what is this, and tell the story. Let's hear the story from you. How did you decide to pursue this? And also, what is it so that everyone can hear?
Sure. So back in South Asia, there's a different name depending on what part of the subcontinent you're from, but San for mukwas or two words, and it's essentially a mix of seeds, primarily fennel. It can have coriander, depending on where you're from and what the medicinal use may specifically be. There can be flaxseed or other things. Oftentimes, though, when you encounter this product in either an Indian grocery store or at a restaurant, it's full of a lot of colorful little tidbits, and they're usually sugar coated. There's artificial colors. And it's something that I grew up eating. You know, we would go to an auntie and uncle's house, and after dinner, the bowl would come out and my eyes would light up, and that was like all I wanted. So grew up eating it and continued eating it, and slowly started to recognize that maybe some of those other things that were in it weren't really something I should be consuming in high quantity. And you know, we liked that it was this something that was close to us that we were very familiar with, but that it was really new to a lot of folks that we were spending time with, and being able to share something like that, the excitement of it, and the, you know, just the delight in someone being like, yeah, you can chew on seeds. Like, and wow, like I've never had fennel in this way, was kind of a nice, thing to discover.
If I'm wrong, but I think a turning point from like Sabine is a salt fiend, right? She would make her own mixes, roast them herself. She was mentioning like the stuff you buy at the Indian grocery stores. They're just like these weird flavors. And then you look at the ingredients and you know not all the ingredients are actually what's in it, because you're like tasting weird mint things and there's nothing about mint. It just says colors and flavors. But I think a turning point came for us when we went on a hike with our friends Joel and Molly. And I think Sabine had some mix that she took out of her pocket and shared it with them. And they're like, what is this stuff? And how do we buy it? And I think, at least for me, I was like, huh, maybe there's something here, you know, maybe. And we had it in I think we had taken some other package, emptied it out and put our mix in there. And so like the idea of the portability of it led to, you know, having these tins that are just reusable and refillable. So.
And I think at that point early on, we were still just experimenting with sugar because that's how I had always enjoyed it. But then another friend of ours, you know, we're in the Hudson Valley. One of our local cherished products here is maple syrup. And so a friend was like, hey, you know, have you thought about trying to use maple syrup to sweeten it? And we gave it a whirl, and it really, it felt like it really brought out that flavor even more. So, so then we just continued down that path and eventually came up with our 3 varieties, and here we are.
I mean, I say this on the show all the time. That is the wonderful thing about founders, is that they see a connection between their world and how they see things and what is missing in the world today, and they synthesize those things. And you know, growing up, I grew up in India. I spent the first 20 years of my life in India. I can remember so many, as you said, uncles and aunties. You know, beta, you must have soft. It is very good for you, right? And you know, as I got older, it's like, yeah, well, why is it good for me? Well, it's digestion. You know, it's if you're, you know, it's for menstrual cramps, lactation, blood pressure. I mean, your hair health, which clearly, you know, did not work in my favor. I must not have eaten enough of it. But
you just need to have more.
I mean, so many reasons, right? And I mean, just like you know, kids will go into American restaurants and grab a handful of mints. I can remember, you know, the handfuls of soft, right? And so I think that's amazing that you guys have taken it and run with it. Now, let me say, the first thing that I thought of when I held the tin in my hand was, man, the wonderful tactile sensation, the design. It felt like sort of like an American take on Hollywood, on Bollywood. It's just like the beautiful design of the tin, as you said, and it reminded me of the way my dad reacted. I'm bringing my dad back into this. He was first in the United States in the late '80s, or maybe it was the early '90s, and he came upon Altoids. And he immediately wanted the Altoids, and I said, "But you don't even like mints." And he goes, "I like the tin." So that was the reaction at the Firebelly office, is that, wow, this tin is amazing. I'm going to keep the tin. And so anyway, let's talk a little bit about the fact that it's healthier. You know, why was making it cleaner and healthier so important to you?
So you know fennel seed, and I'll let Arif elaborate a little bit on maybe some of the Ayurvedic background of it, but it does have properties as well as some of the other ingredients that are great for digestion. They're highly alkaline foods. They increase the pH in your mouth and um, have all of these properties. And as it turns out that oftentimes when people eat the stuff that you find at Indian grocery in high quantities, because of the sugar content, it actually counteracts the health benefits of the seeds themselves. And so the sugar is actually not helping. It's fun to eat and it probably makes it super addictive and enjoyable, but that was something that we had noticed and wanted to move away from.
Got it. Got
Yeah, I
it.
mean, for us, it's simple. Like, we don't want to feed other people stuff we wouldn't put in our own bodies or that we feel weird about putting in our own bodies. And it's like, just very basic. Like, our ingredients are simple. We don't use any weird artificial flavors of things that we can't pronounce. I mean, it's funny, like, I don't know, cinnamon, coriander, cardamom. Um, yeah, it's very basic. But I think the fun thing is, I think we're the only people in the world that are combining these, what you say, traditional
Mhm.
spices from India with something from the New World, like maple syrup, right? So, as far as we can tell, we're the only ones doing it, and we actually we harvest maple syrup from our own property. I mean, for our own use, not for the production. But it's like maple syrup is this magical thing that comes out of trees. It's like
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's fun, and we want to feel good about what we're feeding other people. So,
And I
and
think there was
you
also maybe a recognition that more and more people, I think, are starting to think of food as medicine and realizing that,
know,
gut health, and I know maybe it's because we're both in middle age now, gut health is front and center on the mind always.
yeah,
And so, anything that can help with that, any sort of habits that can keep our gut happy is just, I think that's something that is really important to us.
right.
That's
Yeah, and we see this product like this kind of in between product, right? It's like it's not a meal, it's not breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's kind of an in between meal thing. And then the product itself, it's in between cultures, right? It's like we tried to combine an Indian thing with an American thing with the maple syrup and the packaging. We tried to combine like fun of Bollywood and Indian design with a sort of modern package. I think that reflects like how we see ourselves as like in-betweeners, and maybe you feel the same way, being in between, the Indian culture and American culture. Um, and yeah, we think of this as an in-between product, for those times also, when you're sitting around and, after a meal, enjoying conversation with friends, there's something nice about the sharing of these tins between people and the sharing of some, yeah.
that's a wonderful way to put it. And the in between, I never heard the phrase in betweeners, but I certainly know that feeling. My friend Lakshmi Gopalakrishnan, who is award-winning journalist, and she's done all these things in her life, and she was telling me a couple of weeks ago about the power of the outsider.
Hmm.
Mm.
I immediately identified with that. I said, I'm not at this point after living in the United States this long, I'm not Indian enough in India.
Hmm.
Yet,
Yeah.
no matter how hard I try or how well I do, I'm not quite American enough for some Americans, right?
Mhm.
So I think, but there's beauty in that, right? It's like
Yeah.
recognizing what it is. Also, I think I've been reading a lot about how second generation um, South Asian immigrants, or maybe second generation immigrants in general, like reinterpretations of the original traditions.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I think that's a wonderful opportunity there for the product as well. One of the other things I noticed was on your social is all the excitement around the product. There was a gift box with all these South Asian things, and you were at Big Sur some time ago, and at the Esalen Institute, and the product was there, and I'm just really amazed. Yet another picture with Spicewalla. So the product's getting around.
Yeah, and I think this is our preferred approach of it's terrible. It's not good business advice for people, but we're not doing much for marketing but we're sending a few to friends, and friends are sharing it with friends, and so you're getting this true organic appeal. Like I think we talked about before, like we don't have desires to be huge. Like we don't want to be, $100 million valuation company. Like maybe Sabine thinks differently, but we should have this conversation. But for me, that's not success. For me, success is like we're enjoying ourselves on this journey. We're meeting interesting people. We're helping people out in some way. And yes, I mean, it is a business. We would like some income, but we have no designs about being huge. We just really enjoy the process, the journey.
I think part of it is probably rooted in, so when we ran the restaurant, we are in a very rural part of New York State, and it wasn't a pure Indian restaurant. It was comfort food, and we had a couple of Indian dishes on the menu, and our clientele was also super diverse. And so we took the ill-advised probably approach, which happened to work out, of catering to a really broad audience, and listening to folks as they were coming in, and getting their buy-in and really taking their feedback in as we moved through that journey. And I think for this as well, it was important to us, like, this is something to us is very familiar, but we know that to the large majority of the American audience, it's not something that they're very familiar with. I mean, even telling someone to chew on seeds is such a bizarre, it's like it's not a habit that they're accustomed to. And so to us, it seemed really important, like start at like a grassroots level. If someone hears this from a friend, like our friends did from us on a hike, then it makes total sense, right? And so, yeah, trying out these maybe different channels, not trying to go straight to grocery, doing small independent stores where the staff really can help to educate their customers and be champions for our product on the ground. And then places like Esalen, which is about wellness and like holistic well-being. And we think that that's a place where we can really connect with people. So yeah.
Yeah. And we were having this conversation of like, we should improve our social media. We should improve our website. There's a lot we can do that's better. And at the very least, we should have testimonials on our website. And I was thinking, I really like that the people that are ordering from us now don't need testimonials to get them. They're kind of an adventurous crowd that's like, oh, that looks like an amazing product. I don't need someone else to tell me that that was good. I don't need a celebrity influencer to tell me that's good. I'm willing to, spend a few dollars and see if I like this product. And I think like those are my people. I like that. I want to, that's what I want our client base and our partners at retailers to be like. Like, I'm going to take a small risk. What's the worst that happens? Maybe you don't like it, right? But yeah, we're finding that like folks are liking it. I just got a email this morning of a small shop in Burlington, Vermont, and they're like, we're selling faster than we can keep them. Can you send us, 6 more cases? And I'm like, this is great. We didn't do much marketing for that, and I feel like we should improve our marketing, but I like the way this growth is happening.
Although I would say to you, in some ways, you are at the zenith of marketing, where word of mouth, and word of mouth strategists would say you've seeded it with the way you designed the package and the way you're approaching it. And I think that the casual approach you're taking is not actually casual, right? It's a decision you're making. We were in the pre-show, we were talking about Mark Bitterman. I mean, this is small is beautiful. This is a Mark Bitterman. Yeah. Shout out to Mark, right?
Right.
Mark Bitterman approach is, hey, I'm trying to make the world better because I believe in it. This is what I believe in. I mean, who you were saying, Arif, who would believe that there's an entire store for salt, right? So
yeah,
that's really amazing. Now I heard or I saw a rumor, Arif, that you might play the guitar. Is that the case?
I play bass, I play drums, I play a little bit of guitar. Who told you that? I do a lot of things. I think I'm a dabbler or a tinkerer, and I like to do a lot of things. Why do you...
Arif, we have to keep in touch. I love these phrases. I'm a dabbler. I like it. There's a DC or a Marvel extension of that, the dabbler.
The dabbler. He doesn't really save the day. He more just like does stuff on
Saved the baby over here, brought
a little bit of this, little bit.
Brought a sandwich to a senior citizen over there. But I think the beautiful thing is I even some of the experimentation you brought up adventure just now. I mean, you seem to be adventurous, and you're also suggesting adventure. I saw a suggestion from you to put the product in tea, and check it out. So the adventure seems to really be at the heart of everything.
Yeah, I mean, life is fun, right? You can experiment with things, see if they work, see if they don't. Yeah, yeah. I think that's how we approach things. Like this venture into Chikka Chikka, I think it's a vehicle for us to really like creative expression. Like Sabeen, we didn't talk about the design, but every reaction we get from people is like, wow, that is incredible design. Who did your design? And Sabeen basically managed a team of folks, and we did it for very cheap. We had three women. One was a illustrator who focused on Indian textiles, and she's based in Israel. Another one was in Romania, who had their concept for it. And another one is an English woman based in California. And we were able to achieve something that I didn't think it was possible. We wanted to combine that fun of Bollywood with like classical Indian motifs, but have it be bright. And so shout out to our team of women that, hit it out of the park, So it's a fun vehicle for creative stuff. And we are also planning a road trip to visit all the stores that carry our product.
Oh man.
That to me seems like a fun
We are in
adventure.
both coasts, so that does make for a potential fun adventure. We'll of course have to stop in Indianapolis to say hello on the way.
Yes, you already have fans here, so not to mention the Pittmans. The Pittmans,
Yes.
Shout out to the Pittmans. They're
Absolutely.
Michael cornered me. I just want to tell you, Michael Pittman cornered me in his basement, no less. And he said, like, and you haven't spent a lot of time with him, so I'll do my best impression. He says, now listen. He says, this podcast of yours, I got a great guest for you. Can't say no. And then he said, I'll be right back. He runs upstairs and he brings a tin down. He goes, this is it, man. You have to do it.
Sounds like he had no choice.
If I wasn't interested, I wouldn't have had a choice. I mean, but if that's the kind of like, you can't buy that kind of advocacy. I mean, that is genuine advocacy. And, I have to say that I also think of Asma Khan. Are you familiar with Asma Khan?
Yeah, and I know she was on your show. That's pretty amazing.
I have to think of Asma Khan and say, hey, man, I got to make an introduction to Asma Khan for you because, I mean, she's got an all-women team. She's changing food, and this is a product that Asma needs to see, so
we love you forever.
That would be incredible.
Now, let me ask you this very difficult question, not only do you work together and business partners, but you're life partners too. How does that work, and what can you tell people who are trying to do that? Because I'm sure it's a difficult road.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. I do whatever Sabeen says. Straight up.
Look at me smiling. You look pretty healthy.
He said if I don't smile, I would regret. No, I'm just kidding. We had fun.
I think we're incredibly lucky. Our prior business together was a restaurant. I think if you can do that together, you're golden.
Yeah.
So not the easiest business to be in. But yeah, it's been a fun adventure.
Yeah. Oh wait, do we have any helpful tips for people? I mean, there's a lot of obviously like I made a joke if I do whatever Sabeen tells me, but sometimes you just gotta like let go and trust your partner and realize that like you're in it together and she knows a lot more and she's a lot smarter than me, and I'm very thankful to have her as a partner. So
saying all the right things.
I know this is only because it's a public thing.
But we do have, we do have different strengths. Like
Yeah.
Arif had mentioned, I am an architect, and Arif is a strategic planner. He also did a lot of disaster relief work over there. So, I mean, between um, broader thinking and getting into the details, I think that between the two of us, we cover a lot in that whole spectrum, and that certainly helps.
Yeah, I guess recognizing it's the partnership is the thing that takes precedent, right? It's the partnership is the entity. It's not the individuals. It's the whatever it is, the two people together that creates the third thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little bit off here, but I think it's like valuing that and making that work, the partnership, So
Yeah, I think that what I'm also hearing is that, hey, you divide and conquer.
yeah,
And so I think
yeah,
that's you bring different skill sets to the table. And that's super. And I think always maintaining a kind of a, uh, a a realization that in the big picture, the domestic the partnership between you two is primary and beyond everything else. The business comes, goes, whatever. Right? It's like, hey, we're gonna always be together. So that's
yeah.
that's great.
And it's actually a funny thing, not that you asked this, but people always ask, it's like, how did you meet? And we have to, it's old school. Like
Mhm.
we were set up. It's not quite an arranged marriage. I think she might have had it.
I did have a say in the
You had to
matter.
say, right? You could have
But
said no.
it was essentially, yeah, old school kind of blind date scenario, and it just happened. So we're lucky.
We are lucky. We do have a lot of fun. I think that shouldn't be underrated or understated. That fun kind of takes precedent and laughter. So yeah,
I have to tell you, I love the approach about, hey, we're gonna find our people because a tribe
yeah,
is important. Managing your overhead and your operational costs is important so that you don't lose the joy, right? I mean, I've met, in person and even on this show, so many people who are under so much pressure, to
Mhm.
sell. They have to sell. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it, but maybe you lose a little bit of the magic, when you're in that kind of a spot.
Yeah. And we recognize it's a privilege. I mean, maybe if we had this interview a few months ago when we were kind of like went through a lot of our savings and a lot of the money we made from the restaurant, we're like, crap, we need to be making money and realize like, okay, the Chikka Chikka will not bring in enough income this year. We have to do other things for money. So,
Mhm.
we have our consulting work, which brings it in. That gives us the privilege of this approach. So
Mhm.
obviously it's not for anyone, but if you're a hustler, there's ways to make money and you make things work. And I think a big thing is we don't have expensive needs. We don't have children. We have a cat that we love, but she's pretty low cost.
Mhm.
She actually feeds herself a lot. She goes out and hunts. Um, but our sort of material needs are pretty minimal. Like the thing we love to spend money on is travel. So, we like recently we went to India with the idea of like, oh, can we uh, get better sourcing or what are there's cost savings for getting packaging done there. So it's like
Mhm.
in a way this business is like, okay, what are the opportunities we can travel in support of the business? So
Yeah, that's super cool. And I
yeah.
want to make sure I go rewind, RF, to one of the most important things you said, which is that you have a cat.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. Very important.
Oh, wait a minute. Actually, the cat has you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's definitely part of this partnership. She
Yeah,
should be on the
she's actually
podcast.
running this entire operation,
Yeah,
probably.
she's not good on podcasts. Let's just say that, but in every other way, she's supportive.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of CEOs that aren't good on podcasts either. So, hey, I mean, look at she's picked the faces of the company, and
Yeah,
that's good. What's the name of the cat?
scrappy,
Scrappy?
Mhm.
scrappy. Yeah,
Scrappy. That's the
yeah,
best name. Like,
yeah. It was
She's
uh,
true to her name.
yeah. She was found or by a dog adoption or dog rescue person who had this really raspy voice. She would be like, and when we had the restaurant, she comes in, she's like, you guys want a cat? And we're like, I guess we could use one around the restaurant. It's a rural area. And she's like, all right, I'll bring her by. And she showed photo of this cat, and it was like not weaned properly, so it was like looking terrible, hair all over the place. And I was like, oh, she looks pretty scrappy. And then the woman was like, all right, her name's Scrappy, you got her. And then she brought her by, and she was our restaurant cat. You know, she would protect the premises from mice and vermin and stuff. And
Well, we are big believers in cats. So we have not only three cats, but all three black cats. So
that's it.
Cat's black too.
Yeah.
well, we will have to exchange cat pictures at a later time.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you.
We just commissioned a painting of her actually this morning. We're asking a friend to paint her, and we recognize black cats are difficult to paint.
That's amazing. Does she have a tuft of white?
No, nothing. No whiteness. All black.
Okay.
Yeah.
All black. Well, I know that there is a sub-genre or a sub-breed of black cats known as Bombay cats.
I learned that. Yeah.
They tend to talk a lot, and they're very social and follow you around more so than other cats. So
perfect that the Indian Americans have Bombay cats, right?
Telling you, three of them actually. So now,
what are they called? Mumbai cats now? I don't know.
We're gonna stick with Bombay, okay? This one we can control. We're gonna call this one Bombay. This is it's a retrospective, slightly colonialist perspective. So. Sure. Now, what about sustainability?
Not only did the British give us railroads and education, but also Bombay cats.
I'm gonna leave that one alone because we're gonna go down a whole different path there.
Yeah.
But what about I know sustainability is important to both of you. How is that weave into everything?
Yeah, I mean, well, we wanted the tin to not be disposable, right? So the main packaging is metal, reusable, and so we have refill packs. So we have a larger pack. It's an 8-ounce pack for the Chikka Chikka junkies out there, which there are many. So they can buy the tins, keep reusing the tins, and refill them with the larger packs to reduce our sort of packaging footprint. And if people find that at the end of their tin they don't want to fill it with Chikka Chikka, they can also fill it with other things. So we're happy to put things out there that can be reused.
I think a lot of folks do reference the Altoids when they see the tin because it's something that they do want to keep. And actually, in designing it, one of the challenges we had was that we have this really limited real estate, but it's a new, largely unfamiliar product to many people. So it's like, how do we capture the pertinent information, but also have the design come through and not have just information on the entire package. So that was a balance that we
but I think we decided on make it beautiful versus put all the information that a marketer would want on the product.
I mean, I'm glad that you made those choices. In fact, I was going to ask, like, how many iterations did you go through electronically, and then how many physical iterations did you go through?
Probably a couple of dozen all in. And it was a fun process because, I'm a visual person, but I also am accustomed to like seeing things in drawing format and being able to imagine them in 3D. But having this like small thing that you hold on to every time we had an iteration come through, it actually printed out and mock it up just out of like a little paper model. And so at one point, and then as we were kind of deciding for ourselves what we liked and serving our friends, lining them up, taking photos, sending them out, getting feedback. And it was a fun kind of back and forth process. And really just like once we had the direction, I mean, even landing on the colors where it's like we wanted it to be bold and feel fun. But then for them all to kind of talk together too and be distinct. So it was probably over the course of maybe I would say two months going back and forth.
That's really cool. So that's really cool because I tell you, this is why you don't want to do design by committee, right? Because the committee would have said, well, what is it? We have to tell people what it is. And they think the fact that you don't know what it is and you want to pop open the can, because that was one of our teammates, Reagan, was so motivated to open it. And I was like, don't open it yet. No, I'm opening it. Right? So I think that is where the artifact and holding it in your hand, and
Yeah.
that level of design has only added to the product.
That is great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's really
absolutely.
fun that you bring that up. Like you brought up a committee. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of people in consumer packaged goods and startups, and they're looking to get investors and stuff. And we're very clear of like, we want this to be just us, maybe a couple of friends, or hire a couple of people, and we want to make the fun is to make decisions ourselves, and not have to listen to what an investor would say. Then to me it becomes less fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I think I was going to ask you about what are you excited about? I mean, I think I don't even know if I need to ask that question. You're excited about so many things, but is there something big? I guess the road trip is something you're excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
road trip. I think every time, I think when we originally talked about what our strategy was going to be, we thought, we're in the Hudson Valley. It's really an amazing place to be right now with just so many creative folks and small businesses percolating. And we have built this community, from having the restaurant and then suddenly we had an account in Oregon, and then we had an account in like Wyoming, and then it just sort of started to spread. And this idea that there's people all over the country that are like enjoying this product, and occasionally, you get that order from someone that we just have no idea where it came from. So to me, like that there's this huge excitement still, and just new people discovering us, finding out how they're discovering us, especially like following this like organic growth strategy. That to me, that discovery is kind of the fun part right now.
I think that there are so many cool things popping into my head for things you could do on the road trip, right? It's like
Yeah, totally.
what are the affinity or the family of products that the people at the stores associate with it? I mean, we talk in CPG a lot about retail velocity, right? It's like how do you see what happens when Arif and Sabeen show up at the store, and they do like, maybe they have a poster or something old school that says, the founders of this company are coming to town, show up to see them. I mean, I think there's all kinds of cool things that you could do there, and photos, of course, and videos along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think I'm excited about like I mentioned, we see this as a vehicle for creative endeavors or social good endeavors. Really, that's what excites me is like, can we inspire art or performance or social good um, projects through this company, through this little tin of medicinal seeds? Like, yeah, I think that will come with some growth, and excited. And really, for us, like we love meeting people, we love connecting with others, and we love like sort of surprises. So it's fun to just be open to the growth of this product, see where it takes us. It's like we wouldn't be talking to you if we didn't launch this product. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
these are the unknown things, which I don't know, I think make life fun. So,
Yeah, and Eric
yeah.
Martindale, right? I mean, you talk to Eric
Yeah.
Martindale, he's the man. That's really great. He was so
Oh
excited
yeah. Oh
about
yeah.
about talking to you. So that's a retail media guy there. Now, let
Yeah.
me ask you this. I got to ask this question. What do you say to people that are thinking about starting something, right? I mean, you've been through it. You're enjoying some really great meaning and success. What do you say to people that are thinking about getting a product out there?
Start it. Why not?
Um,
That's all I need to say, right? It's like, obviously, well, maybe you can
I
talk
mean,
about.
I mean, I would say trust your intuition. I think that any founder will tell you about moments of like self-doubt and like, what am I doing? And what comes next? And I guess that doesn't, I don't know that that goes away in this process as you're growing and hopefully growing. Um, and we've had many, many instances where we're just looking at each other like, oh, what do we do now? And it turns out that I think a lot of times that intuition really does point you in the right direction. So yeah, that would be my one
Yeah,
advice.
like I think there's some folks that are like focused on getting rich. This is not the industry to do that as a small startup consumer product. And maybe they watched Shark Tank and saw that like, oh, you can get millions of dollars of investment, but those are like unicorns and that's a TV show, right? So being realistic about the income expectations and having other sources of income, if you do other work that you can launch this or have a job. I mean, I think the best advice I heard, not that I followed it, was like if you want to launch a consumer packaged good, get a job for someone, get a job in another company that's doing it so you get paid while you learn. That's incredible advice. And it takes the pressure off of the product that you want to launch. So I think because our focus is not on making money as a sole thing, I think it's a lot easier for us because we want this. We are on a path towards profitability, but maybe we're not as desperate or as stressed out about it. Like we're thinking, okay, in 3 years, I think we can get this to be a viable source of income for us if things keep going well and if people keep liking us. So I think having realistic expectations about the timeline for income is key, right? You're not going to launch a product and everyone's going to buy it. You're not going to the classic thing before we went in is like, oh, we just need Whole Foods to pick it up. But then you learn about the industry and the grocery industry, and you've got brokers and you've got distributors and you've got slotting fees, and like there go all your margins, and you're only making money at Whole Foods or someplace like that if you're doing hundreds of thousands of units. It's like, oh yeah, maybe that's not such a good path towards profitability, so.
Yeah.
Learn as much as you can. There's so much resources out there. You have the world of the internet with everything known to man at your fingertips.
That is sage advice. Thank you. And I'm so glad you went on that hike. And did you say Molly and Joel?
Joel and Molly. Shout out to Joel and Molly.
Joel and Molly.
Joel's a fifth generation apple grower. So he's
And also, I'm so thankful for your choices and channeling the Hudson Valley and the maple syrup. I mean, a lot of people can't eat sugar, but they can eat maple syrup.
Yeah, we just met folks that can't eat cane sugar. I was like, perfect. You're a perfect target market.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I can't eat, can't eat cane sugar.
Oh, wow.
And maple syrup is your savior. So, oat chocolate with maple syrup. You gotta find it.
Cool. Yeah, and let us know if you want new flavors. We're thinking next is right now we have mint, cinnamon, cardamom. We're thinking about ginger as the next flavor.
Ooh, I'm a big fan of ginger. That sounds
us too. And if it's like real ginger, right? Not
Absolutely. Ginger is amazing. I have to think about what other thoughts I have other than ginger. But thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for making the world better and with these layers, and the artifact value of the product. And that's just amazing. Thank you so much, for doing this. I really appreciate it. And one more time, actually, we didn't tell people where to find it. So let's make sure that they get the website address and where they can find it.
Yep. ChikkaChikka.com. That's ChikkaChikka.com. And we're at Chikka Chikka on Instagram. And there's a list of stores on our website. We're in 29 stores now. They're all independents. Some are yoga studios, some are small shops, some are retreat centers. But if you have a store, if you know people that have stores, send them our way, and maybe we'll come and visit.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Duncan.
Thank
you. Thanks
to fun.
And just so one more time, so everyone can hear chikkachikka.com. What an inspiring and insightful discussion. I think this may be one of my favorite episodes with so many insights about how to keep calm and carry on. Thank you, Arif and Sabeen, for sharing these stories. It's inspiring to see how you've taken a traditional cultural concept and made it relevant and exciting for today's world. So if you're curious and want to try these incredible fennel seed mixes for yourself, visit chikkachikka.com. They're on Instagram. They're going to be doing some amazing things. And as always, as Duncan, your host, thank you for tuning into the Firebelly Social Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with one of your friends. And if you know someone who should be on the show, hit us up. Until next time, Keep sharing, keep building community, one story at a time, everyone. See you in the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.